Good evening, YouTube. This is the Atheist Chef. This video is going to be the next segment in my series of arguments that need to die. If you stick around long enough in this great debate, eventually you'll hear the old adage, atheism is a religion. And if you're anything like me, gets the blood boiling just a little bit. I'm not exactly sure why apologists try to do this. It's kind of like they look at us and they think that we see that it's, atheism is up here and that religion is down here, and that if they discredit atheism and call it a religion, it'll put religion right here on the same level. However, what actually ends up happening is if this were actually the case, it would actually bring atheism down, because we actually tend to look at all of the other religions out there, and not just Christianity or Islam, but I'm talking all the religions of the past, and we look at the things like having faith or believing in some supernatural entity or what have you, and we tend to look down on that because there's a lack of evidence, and so on and so forth. So trying to discredit atheism by calling it a religion, it's only going to make religion look worse. Doesn't it sound kind of silly that you're almost discrediting religion by calling atheism a religion? I don't know, it just feels kind of funny. Well, let's just ignore that for a second and let's just go on with the actual claim. Is atheism a religion? Well, let's start off by looking at the actual, etymology of the word religion. Religion is an old French word derived from the Latin religio. In its original meaning, or closest meaning that we can gather at this point, is respect for what is sacred, reverence for the gods, or obligation, the bond between man and the gods. Starting from the etymology alone, we can pretty much rest assured that atheism has nothing to do with reverence for the gods or a bond between a man and the gods, because, well, you simply don't believe it. But let's go with maybe some other dictionaries. Let's go with one of the Google definitions. The belief and worship of a superhuman controlling power, especially a personal god or gods. Again, doesn't sound like atheism to me. Or another Google definition. A particular system of faith and worship. Well, we don't believe in gods, no worship. And there's not really a particular system of anything because, well, atheism is about a single point about the existence of a god. And faith, if you want to say a particular definition, we're going to go with more of the religious definition, where it's either faith based on a lack of evidence or faith based on on weak evidence, something to that regards. So once again, atheism, nope. Well, Merriam-Webster also has to say that it's a belief in a god or a group of gods. Okay, seeing this trend's kind of going, this certain direction. I hope you guys are starting to figure it out. Merriam-Webster also defines this as an organized system of beliefs, ceremonies, and rules used to worship a god or a group of gods. Again, organized system, don't really have a system. We don't have any atheistic ceremonies, unless you count when I would sacrifice a baby to Satan. Ignore that, just, crap. And obviously, then there's also not any rules to worship the god or the gods, because we don't worship them. Let's go with dictionary.com's definition. A set of beliefs concerning the cause, nature, and purpose of the universe, especially when considered as the creation of a superhuman agency or agencies, usually involving devotional and ritual observances, or often containing a moral code governing the conduct of human affairs. Again, I'm not even going to go into details. It's obvious. I'm getting there. So, that's, of course, just a few of the definitions. But what about some of those other ones? Because I know you guys are smart and you're looking up all those other alternate definitions as well. So let's get into those. So some of the alternate definitions. Let's start off with Google says a pursuit or interest to which someone ascribes supreme importance. And right now, some apologists are like, "Yeah, that's it. That's the one." Because atheists they're so excited because they're like, "Ah, there's no God. That's that's the most important thing is to show that God doesn't exist or that they have no reason to believe in God, whatever." Well, the thing is let's kind of think about this for more than 4.5 seconds. Let's think about sports. When someone says they watch football religiously, or baseball, or soccer, or hockey. Well, pretty much you have to be Canadian. That's not an American thing. But, whatever. They can be religiously, devoted to watching hockey too. I'm sure that's a thing. But, you would say that they're religious about it, or something that's important to them. I mean, you can come up with a bunch of things that can be supremely important to some people. Still, if atheism is a religion for that definition, then so is football. Secondly, I also want to say that just because we atheists are on here and we're arguing with you or disagreeing with you or trying to point out your flaws or whatever, or we're engaging in this discussion, it doesn't necessarily mean that we ascribe as atheism as our supreme importance. Most of us have other fucking things to do with our lives. We work, we have families, we have, relationships, and, we do other things. Just because we talk with you about it doesn't mean it's like the most important thing in our lives. So it kind of fails on 2 levels. Oh yeah, well, dictionary.com says the body of persons adhering to a particular set of beliefs and practices. Well, you atheists, you have a particular set of beliefs. You believe in evolution. You believe in the Big Bang Theory. Well, that's not the same thing, because it's also talking about in practices. And again, we don't have any practices. The set of beliefs comes to a particular aspect of religion or your God or whatever. Just because we have a bunch of different beliefs on different things doesn't mean that they're related. So that doesn't count. Oh yeah, well, the Merriam-Webster also says an interest, a belief, or an activity that is very important to a person or group. Well, again, it's much like the Google definition, ascribing supreme importance. I mean, anything could follow by that definition. So there's other definitions, you can look them up, and again, like 3/4 of them are going to have, they're going to pertain to just real religious stuff, and everything else is going to be kind of a real fuzzy, and generally just mention and describe things basically as I've already said it. And so, by the actual definitions alone, it's really not a religion. Period. So in short, when it comes down to it, the definitions of religion they do not match up with what atheism is. Just plain and simple. And also, if nothing else, you can think of it this way. Atheism is just as much of a religion as theism is. And on that note, I'm going to finish us off with what Matt Dillahunty said on the Atheist Experience in regards to atheism being a religion.
Atheism is just the rejection of theistic claims. It's a position on a single issue, whether or not a God exists. Everything else is something else. So atheism has no tenets, no dogma, no traditions, no governing bodies. There's nothing about it that you could identify as religious. And atheists, the only way you could be a bad atheist is to believe in God.